Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Michelle, and I want to welcome you to a special episode of Tab Talks. And today we're going to be talking about safe sleep, Declan's story. I was moved by this story because I had been given some literature about safe sleep. And as I read that information about safe sleep, my heart just sank because I couldn't imagine how a mother, a family could deal with something so horrific. And so the more research I did, I came across a story in the UK it was an actual interview with Jolene Ohanian. And I was so moved by her story, I reached out to contact her. And believe me, I had no concept at the time that I was contacting her that, our time zones would be 5 hours apart. And I reached out to her and she answered right back. And I told her, I hope you don't think I'm intruding, but I would love to be able to talk to you about your story that you've been sharing. And she so graciously did that. And so tonight we are going to talk about Declan's story. It's a compelling story about loss, about tragedy, and the importance of safe sleep. So here we go.
You may not be aware that over 3,500 infants die each year in the United States. Many of these deaths are preventable. Co-sleeping occurs when infants are placed in bed with an adult, and this practice is growing. In 1993, only 6% of moms chose to share bed with their infant. By 2015, that percentage had quadrupled to 24%. And the results have been catastrophic. One interesting piece of research was the actual implementation of the baby box in Finland in 1938. The box was designed to incentivize parents and pregnant moms to complete their prenatal visits and their prenatal education. And Finland, of course, has one of the lowest infant mortality rates, but people somehow attributed those lower mortality rates to the box themselves, and the research just did not support that. In fact, in the research, the reduction in mortality rates in Finland don't attribute that to the box. It's attributed to other factors like a good maternal health system, good educational system, and basically just great standards of living. That's what they attribute their success. So, of course, when private industry copied the model of using the boxes, they didn't recognize it was not the box in and of itself. Municipalities across the globe are aware of the tragic loss of life caused by co-sleeping. Many of these campaigns are to be commended. In one UK campaign, we see an infant with angel wings with the slogan, "Mummy fell asleep on me." In 2012, Broward County, Florida, in a collaboration between Healthy Mothers and the Fort Lauderdale Fire and Rescue, launched the DOSE program, which stands for Direct On-Scene Education. In this innovative collaboration, paramedics responding to emergency calls also take the time to assess if there are infants in the home in safe sleeping conditions. In 2010, the Milwaukee, Wisconsin Department of Health initiated a bed sharing campaign depicting a bed with a tombstone in place of a headboard with the slogan, "For too many babies last year, this was their final resting place." So when we start talking about quality education, we have to begin with the gold standard, which is the American Academy of Pediatrics slogan about the ABCs of safe sleep: alone, on your back, in a crib. And while we know historically we receive a lot of things at baby showers, beautiful blankets and clothes, toys, those are not the items to place in the crib with the child. There are also other risk factors associated with rollover deaths in children, and we look at smoking, extreme fatigue, a soft surface like a waterbed, a couch, infants that are younger than 4 months, if you have more than one person actually in the bed, overnight sharing, and the use of alcohol. There was a fascinating research study by Nogler and DiCarlo that overwhelmingly showed that education works, and their population in terms of compliance went from 23% to 82% after hospital discharge.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Michelle, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Tab Talks. And today we are going to be talking about safe sleep, Declan's story. So we want to welcome you to Tab Talks. Okay, we are, first of all, Jolene, I think it's important for people to know where you are now, so they understand just time zone difference.
Yes, I am in Belfast in the north of Ireland.
Wonderful. And I appreciate your candor and your willingness to talk to me about Declan. I think it's important for everyone across the globe to understand the importance of in this story. And so anything that I can do to help do that, to keep his memory alive, will do that. First, I want to start with you. So our audience understands your story. You're an experienced mom.
Yes.
And you experienced a terrible accident. Can you share with our audience what happened?
I will. I'm a mother of, I'm a mother of 5, and I had Declan in October 2017. Declan was born, he was 8 pounds 2 ounces. He was a perfectly beautiful little boy. On the 4th of December, then 2017, that was the end, the worst day of my life. That was, Declan was 9 weeks old exactly that day. I woke up, I had brought Declan into bed beside me. What had happened then was I had actually had Declan in his wee basket beside me. During the night, I reached in and I felt Declan's wee hand, and it was cold. So I had said, "Come on, wee man, come in beside mum into bed." So I brought him in beside me, and his little sister was also in the bed. I put a pillow between Declan and his little sister. And then there was obviously me then. He was fine. I sat and talked away to him for a wee while, just talking. And he was lying awake, and I gave him a wee bottle. And I fell asleep, and that was it. Declan went to sleep. I woke up the next morning, and that was absolute tragedy. It was absolute tragedy. I actually turned around and I had looked at Declan, and his face, I may be getting into a bit too much detail, but his face was actually white on one side and purple on the other side. I knew it, mother's instinct, you just know straight away. I lifted him. For a split second, I held him. It was shock. I think it was more shock. I held him, and then I ran down the stairs to him. I started shouting to his dad, "Help, help." He asked me, what's wrong? Is baby, is he too warm? No, I said, he's not breathing. So I phoned the ambulance. My other children was there. I'd say I have 5 other children. They were there getting ready for school that morning. the I was speaking to the operator, 999 operator. She was telling me what to do. So it was all happened so quickly. It all happened so quickly. The ambulance then came and we were rushed to the hospital. Within a couple of minutes, they came in, the doctors took him, and within a couple of minutes they came in. I already knew anyway. I knew. They came in obviously and told me that Declan had passed away.
I think any new mom can understand when you have a 7-week-old, anybody that out there that's had a child, I have two.
Yeah.
The exhaustion, the sheer exhaustion that you have as a parent, and how many of us have had our children in the bed with us, whether it was breastfeeding, keeping them warm, done that.
Yeah.
Tell me, because bed sharing is common. Is this something, because you noted that the sister was there, this was something very common?
Yeah. Yes, and it's very, very common, very common. I had done it with all 5 of my other children. I had, from when they were babies, right, newborns upwards, I had taken them into bed. And, I did have the wee baskets, but whenever, as you say, exhaustion, tiredness, I would have just fed him and put him down beside me, because he would have settled better. Babies thrive on comfort, and they want to be close. So it helps them settle. So you do just say, right, I'm going to bring the baby in with me, and it'll help settle him down, keep him warm. And it's a mother's instinct. She just wants to keep her baby warm and cozy, and you just want to keep them wrapped up, and it was a cold December night. My instinct was just keep him in bed with me. But as I said, it's very common just to take baby into bed beside you. And you don't think, I'm going to say, you don't think it's ever going to happen to you. Never. It happens to other people. It never happens to you, but it does.
Tell me, Jolene, had you ever had any training? Did you feel completely stunned when you found out that I didn't know I couldn't do this, or I didn't know I shouldn't do this?
Of course. Prenatal, I was never given anything. I was never even told about SIDS or sudden infant death syndrome. I was never ever told about it. It was only postnatal, when I just had the baby, I was given a leaflet. But once you've had the baby, you're handed loads of leaflets, and you're bombarded with everything. You're also completely exhausted from just having baby. So you're not going to be sitting reading all through your leaflets, and it just doesn't happen. It just doesn't happen.
And you had other children. You were an experienced mother.
I was very experienced. 5 other children I had, and they're all big, and they were all thriving, that they were healthy children. And I just thought I knew what to do, because I had got all the other children, but no.
There are numerous risk factors, and I only just found this out recently, when you have an infant in the home. And what did you find to be some of the common themes among families? Because you dedicated a large part of your life to telling this story so that other people don't experience this tragedy. Have you found anything common among families when this happens at all?
I did. It was co-sleeping. It was a large factor. Also, sleeping on the couch with baby in your arms, or lying on the couch with baby on your chest. When you fall asleep, it happens so quickly. It happens babies also, what happened with Declan was when the results come back from the coroner, it came back that he had overheated, and that was his cause of death. It was down to overheating with the factor of SIDS. As baby cannot regulate their own temperature. Babies don't, they need us, they rely on us, especially for the first 12 months to help regulate their temperature. Also, wearing hats, wee hats in bed, babies, they get let most of their heat out of their head, so that helps wee babies regulate their temperature. But that's one thing that I didn't know about babies, was they couldn't regulate their own temperature. So overheating is a big factor. Also with the breastfeeding mothers, they when they are laying down breastfeeding during the night, they are more at risk of going into a dangerous position. It'd be a hazard of going into a dangerous position with baby and suffocating baby. So they are told to sit up when they are, although they are tired, and it is exhaustion. It really is down to exhaustion. But if we are given the proper information, these deaths can be prevented. They can be prevented if
And
the correct information is given.
and because of people like you willing to talk about it, and I guess from one mom to another, how long was it before you could just even talk about it?
It took me 2 years. It was 2 years before I could talk about it. When Declan died, I sunk into very deep depression. I got anxiety, I got paranoia. I thought people were talking about me, thinking that I'd done something to my baby. Hurt my baby. I thought they thought that I had hurt my baby. Because it's a taboo issue about, people don't like to talk about these things, and because as I say, it hasn't happened to them, people really don't think that this is going to happen. But no, yeah, I sunk into very, very, very deep depression, and I was medicated. I had to be put on medication. And that lasted, it was about 2 years. And still, Michelle, to this day, it's 4.5 years later, I still suffer very bad depression and anxiety. And my body just yearns still for my baby. I miss him so, so much. I
And,
just wish from my heart he was here.
and I know it had to be difficult when you say you had that paranoia or that feeling that people were judging you, when everything you've said, sleeping on your chest, having your baby in the bed, there are a million mothers watching this that know we've all done that. We've all done that. And it was just by the grace of God, nothing happened, because we've all done that. And I know there, like you said, when you leave the hospital, they load you up with all this paperwork and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just not, that's probably the last thing you do is you're reading paperwork. You just want to get home, go to bed, and try to get sleep when you absolutely can. So hopefully people understand it's very easy to judge. But if you've not had children and you don't know the level of exhaustion and things that it takes. So please, definitely no judgment zone here. After that incident, did you decide to have another child?
I would have liked another child. Declan's dad, he couldn't go through it. He was far too, and he still is, he's far too frightened. He's frightened for my mental health. He's frightened for him. He's also frightened for the children. He just can't face it. He just can't face it.
He's a great support system because he's there. He's right there. I've had an opportunity to
He's
meet him.
just walked out of the room there. He just
But
walked out
he's
of
a
the room
great
there.
guy. He's a great
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. He finds it hard. Even speaking about it. He gets, it's four and a
I
half
keep
years later, and
I keep and I'm sorry.
it's still so hard. It's just your heart. It never leaves you. It will not leave us. And it never will, and until I meet him again. It's not going to leave me.
Jolene, I think you are probably one of the most courageous and strongest people that I know, because when I contacted you, you said, absolutely, I want to share this story so that if I can save some other mom from having to go through the pain that I've gone through, I want to do this. And how long have you been doing speaking engagements and just telling people your story so that they understand it's real and it happens?
I have tried. I went on local newspapers, local MPs have they ended up speaking about it because it did reach the local papers, and I've just tried to get it out there so much. Facebook, everywhere. I just try and also since Declan has passed away here in Belfast, there has been, I'd say, about 6 incidents that has happened in the 4.5 years, and each time that I have heard of, and each time I try and contact the mothers because I was in that position and I know the heartbreak they're going to be facing right at that moment, and it's so traumatic. It is really traumatic. It's just something. It's horrible. It's just something that will never leave you.
Well, I think, Jolene, that talks a lot about you, that you reached out and became the olive branch that you possibly, didn't have. You had your spouse, and he clearly was a support system. But you're right. I think hearing from a mom who says, no, this happened to me. It happens with dads. This happened. And I think that was a powerful statement that you were willing to say, look, I lived through this, and every day it's difficult, but I lived through this and you will too. So
Yes.
are there support groups? You said that you're doing this, but are there formal support groups for moms and dads when this happens? Because it's not just the mom, the whole family is impacted by this.
Yeah, 100%. The children, everybody, the children is trying to tell children, I put their baby brother to bed, and the next morning he was gone. Trying to explain that to wee children, it's very, very hard. You don't find the words because they are frightened of going to bed. They're frightened of. They're in the house. That they witnessed it. Support groups in Belfast, there actually is none. There was none. I had to reach out to one in Scotland called the Scottish Cat Death Trust. They were fantastic. They sent me a little book to read to the children about where his baby brother gone. And it was a lovely little book. But there is also the Lullaby Trust here in the UK. There is if on Facebook now, and Google, if you try and Google, there are some. There are some. I just don't think there's enough. Personally, in my own opinion, I don't think there is enough support groups for this. I just don't.
Jolene, I admire your courage. I admire your ability to reach out, and you created that ability for people to be able to reach out to you. And I think that's a wonderful testament about who you are and the adversity that you've overcome. And, I always give my guests the last word. And what do you think is important as the world is watching you right now? What do you want to say to them?
Don't do it. I don't believe And I know people may disagree with me, but I don't believe that there is any way to sleep safe with a little baby. I believe a baby needs to be in its own space with nothing. But they don't need nothing in their little cots. They're only babies. You know, it's not worth it. It is not worth it. It's just for to take that chance, you know. Your baby is nice. It's safe and it's comfortable in its own wee space, and that's where it needs to be. Also, what I mentioned about Declan's hands and feet being cold, a lot of babies' wee hands and feet be cold. I then learned that is completely normal, which is something that I did not know then, and that is after 5 children. I didn't even know that a baby's hands and feet will normally be cold at that age, you know. But my message is, it's just, I do not believe there's no way to sleep safe with a wee baby. It's just, I don't.
Jolene, you are amazing. And I want to thank you so much for coming on Tab Talks. You know, I think any mom out there who's listening to this story understands how heartbreaking it could be. But I think that you've persevered and you have made such an impact on me. And I want this story to go across the world so that people know that you can live through it. It's difficult. It's not easy. You know, you're taking one day at a time,
Yeah,
but out of
that's
the
exactly
goodness of your heart, you're helping other people. You're helping other people.
what you just said. That's all I can do is take it one day at a time. I that's what I've lived since 4.5 years. I've lived like that. I also believe that I know that I'm speaking from my own religion. Believe that if Declan was here for the 9 weeks and he maybe saved when I talked over here, if he saved one wee baby over here in Ireland or in anywhere, and then again over in America, if he was to save another wee baby over there, then his wee life was worth it. His wee life was worth it. And I do want him to be remembered. I want him to be always remembered and his wee legacy to live on in saving other wee children. Because if that's what it took, if that's what God gave me to save other people, then that's what happened.
Well, I'm certainly going to make sure that we honor his memory and that you are just a powerful person to be able to just engage on this topic. And I'm so humble that you were willing to do that. And if there's any time that you want to come back on the show to talk about anything, you come, you know you can. You know you can.
Thank you so much. Thank you for reaching out to me across the water. Thank you so much. And just really thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you.
And I just have to tell people when I called you, you know, because I was so, I found one of your stories actually, and I was just in tears when I read it. And so I wanted to reach out to you and I said, I want to talk to her because I was just so moved by it. And you said at the moment that I actually reached out to you, you were actually talking about Declan when you got the text
That's
from
right.
me.
That's right. Me and his dad, and it was late. It was about 1 o'clock in the
Yes,
morning.
it
He
was
was 2 o'clock in the
1:11.
morning. It
Yes.
was, and we were sitting, and we would sometimes talk about Declan. Obviously, he's a big part of our household still, but that particular night, we had been talking about him, and I looked at my phone and I'd said to his dad, "There's a message here from a girl in America about Declan." And as I said to you, I don't believe in coincidence. This was meant to be. This was meant to be. He needed to be this story needed to be reached, and people need to listen. They really need to listen. It's so important. It is really so important. It's
Well, darling,
just,
you're gonna
and
you're
we
going to
babies are,
help.
they're just so precious. Babies are just so precious, and they're just not worth taking any risk for. So for them, for 6 months, that's all. 6 months is the minimum. Just do not take them into bed or sleep with them on you, or it's not worth it.
Thank you so much for coming on Tap Talks.
Thank you so much, Michelle.
Heaven's Rocking Chair by Ron Tranmer. Are there rocking chairs in heaven where little babies go? Do the angels hold you closely and rock you to and fro? Do they talk silly baby talk to get a smile or two and sing the sleepy lullabies I used to sing to you? My heart is aching for you, my angel child so dear. You brought such joy into our lives the short time you were here. I know you're in a happy place and in God's loving care. I dream each night I'm rocking you in heaven's rocking chair.